Hello, boys and girls, friends and family of Anna Reynolds School. I'm back with another edition of Books and Cooks. Today I chose a story by Eric Carle called Walter the Baker. It's about a baker, which is what I am, right? I love to bake, who invented a roll, okay, that the sun can shine through 3 times. I want you to think about that. So this baker named Walter invented a roll that the sun can shine through 3 times. I'm not going to give it away. I'm going to put my roll down. I'm going to start reading, and let's see if we can put some clues together and start to guess what Walter the Baker made. Right here. Long ago, in a town encircled by a wall, lived Walter the baker, his wife Anna, and his son Walter Jr. If you can't see the pictures, remember you can always go on YouTube. They even have these animated and other people read them. Walter the baker was known even outside the walls of the town. He was the best baker in the whole duchy. That means like the whole county or the whole town. Early every morning, while everybody was still asleep, Walter began baking breads, rolls, cookies, tarts, and pies. The same as the people who bake donuts in the morning and bagels and muffins. They have to go in very early. Anna sold the baked goods in the store. No one could resist the warm, sweet smells drifting from Walter's bakery, and people came from near and far. Look at all those things he baked. But he baked a roll that the sun could shine through 3 times. I'm not sure I see that one. Here's our son. The Duke and the Duchess, who ruled over the duchy, loved Walter's sweet rolls. So every morning, Walter Jr. carried a basket full of warm sweet rolls to the castle where they lived. So that was his job, to feed the Duke and the Duchess. Kind of like the king and the queen, right? Said the Duchess, spreading quince jelly on her roll. Ah, said the Duke, putting honey on his. And so each day was the same as the day before. They would be eating Walter's rolls for breakfast. Until one morning, something happened. Walter's cat was chasing a mouse and tipped over a can of milk in the bakery. Oh no, what will I do? Cried Walter. I cannot make my sweet rolls without fresh milk. In desperation, Walter grabbed a pitcher of water. Oh, I hope nobody's going to notice the difference, he said, as he poured the water instead of the milk into the flour to make the dough. Well, there he is improvising because he does not have milk like he normally uses. I don't know if improvising will work this time. Now, you and I may not be able to tell the difference between a roll made with water and one made with milk, but the Duke and especially the Duchess, oh, they could tell the difference. Ugh, cried the Duchess after she took a bite. What is this? Roared the Duke. Where's Walter the baker? Bring him here now. They don't like it. I guess it does make a difference this time. Sometimes changing a recipe matters. So Walter was brought before the Duke. "What do you call this?" roared the Duke. "This is not a roll. This is a stone." And with that, he threw it at Walter's feet. I used water instead of milk," Walter admitted, hanging his head in shame. "Pack your things and leave this town and my duchy forever," shouted the Duke. "I never want to see you again." "My Duke," pleaded Walter, "this is my home. Where will I go? Please, please give me one more chance." Well, that's kind of being mean. But I guess when you're in charge, you get to make the rules. "I must banish you," said the Duke. Let's get rid of him. But then he remembered Walter's good, sweet rolls and how much he and the Duchess would miss them. "Well, Walter," the Duke started to say, and then he thought some more. "You may stay if you can invent a roll through which the rising sun can shine 3 times. And to make it more difficult," he added, "it must be made from 1 piece of dough. And most of all, it must taste good. Now go home and bring me such a roll by tomorrow morning." Poor Walter, worried and sad, he trudged back to the bakery. When he trudged, you just kind of like hang your head and drag your feet. You're so sad and so worried. Okay, he's got to invent a roll that the sun can shine through 3 times. Have you guessed what he invented yet? Remember, it's made from 1 piece of dough. Walter worked all day and into the night. He made long rolls and short rolls and round rolls and twisted rolls. He made thin rolls. He made fat rolls. And he worked some more. Walter beat, pulled, pushed, and pounded the dough. But it was all in vain. That means useless. It didn't work. He could not come up with such a roll that would please the Duke. So by early morning, Walter had only 1 long piece of dough left. "It's hopeless," he cried. And in a sudden fit of anger, he grabbed that last piece of dough and he flung it against the ceiling. "Stick there," he yelled at the dough. But it didn't. It fell, twisting as it dropped down, and then it plopped into a pail of water. Anna and Walter Jr. were awakened by Walter's yell, and they rushed into the bakery just as Walter was about to dump it into the garbage. "Father, stop!" shouted Walter. "Look!" Uh-oh, I think I start to see what he made. And Anna quickly popped the dough into the hot oven, and soon it was brown and crisp. She took out the roll and handed it to Walter. It hadn't risen very high, not like normal rolls, but it did have 3 holes. Do you see what he made? Look into the oven. Can you see it? It's just the way the dough twisted, I guess, but we don't know what it tastes like, do we? Walter held up the twisted roll and smiled. Look, is the sun shining through it 3 times? He saw that the morning sun was shining through it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And it was made from 1 piece of dough. That's pretty crazy. Walter put the roll into a basket and he rushed to the castle to deliver his invention to the Duke and the Duchess. And they, too, saw the morning sun shine through it 3 times. And then the Duke and the Duchess each took a small bite. Walter was so afraid to look because he had no idea how it would taste. "Well done," said the Duke. "Perfect," exclaimed the Duchess. Both were glad that Walter would not have to be sent away. And Walter, too, was happy that he could stay. "Now, pray tell us, what do you call this invention?" asked the Duke. Yes, pray us tell," Walter stammered as he tried to come up with a name. What was that? Pretzel? Said the Duke. "Pretzel it shall be. From now on," he declared, "it shall be sweet rolls in the morning and pretzels in the afternoon," said the Duchess. Walter returned to the bakery and he spent all day and all night making pretzels. And the next morning, there were baskets of pretzels outside the store for the whole town to try. And a special basket of pretzels was made just for the Duke and the Duchess. And a cheer went up for Walter, the pretzel maker. The end. It tells us that the word pretzel comes from the Latin word brachium, meaning arm, because the pretzel was originally a simple bread eaten during Lent, and its shape was based on ancient position of prayer, where people would do this. They would fold their arms like this to pray. And do you see how it forms the pretzel? So let me see. I think it would be a fantastic idea if you and I went into my kitchen and we tried to make Walter's invention. I'll meet you there in a few minutes. Okay, well, welcome back to my kitchen. And I think it would be really fun if I could teach you how to make those soft pretzels that they sell at the mall, because we all can't go to the mall right now to buy them. And I know I've been craving a soft pretzel, and perfect to go with the book, Walter the Baker, since that's what he accidentally invented. In a way, when I think about the theme of this book, I'm thinking maybe it could mean your mistakes can sometimes be turned into something good, or we can learn from our mistakes. That's a great life lesson. Walter the Baker accidentally made something that we are all enjoying now. Did you know that the first pretzel was made back in 610 AD? That was 1,410 years ago. It was actually invented by a monk who was a teacher, and he would use leftover dough to give to his students who had learned their prayers. Pretzels are also known to be good luck symbols. Have you ever heard of the term tying the knot when someone's getting married? Sometimes people break a pretzel, and that's supposed to be good luck during the wedding. Other religions will step on a glass or break a wishbone, anything to mean good luck. The hard pretzel, the kind we buy in the bags, the hard crunchy ones, those were accidentally invented, another invention by a baker who was snoozing or sleeping on the job, and he had left them in the oven too long, and they actually just overbaked, and now we have those hard pretzels. About $550 million worth of pretzels are sold every year, and each person eats about 2 pounds of pretzels themselves. These are great facts. Someone by the name of Joey Jaws Chestnut is the pretzel eating champion, where he actually ate 21 soft pretzels in 10 minutes. Here's an interesting fact. Back in 2002, President Bush choked on a pretzel while he was watching a NFL playoff game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, someone was there to help him because he's still alive. And someone by the name of Joe Nocchio made the world's largest pretzel, 5 feet wide. That would take me and just lay me out on my side because I'm about 5 feet tall, and about 40 pounds it weighed. Those are some pretty amazing pretzel facts. Are you ready? It's super simple to make a soft pretzel, but there is one ingredient that you just might not have. So you might have to add this to your grocery list for the next time you get a grocery delivery or someone in your family is going to go out to the store. And the first ingredient you're going to need is going to be yeast. And yeast is like a fungus that makes bread and muffins and pastries rise. It's what makes them puff up, okay? They sell yeast in the grocery stores, usually come sometimes 3 in a packet, usually $1 to $2 to $3 depending, and you're only going to need 1 package of yeast for this. Now what I do when I'm at the store is I buy yeast and I throw it in my freezer, and I know you're probably thinking, what? Well, there's always an expiration date on the back. Okay, so this one says June of 2020. I need to use it by June of 2020. But by keeping it in the freezer, it stays fresher longer. And it does not kill the yeast. So I pulled it out. So you're going to need 1 package of dry yeast. You will need 3/4 of a cup of warm water. So I took a 3/4 cup and I dumped water in and I microwaved it for 20 seconds. The way I know that the water is warm and not hot is I literally stick my finger in it, and if I can hold my finger in and it feels nice and warm but not scalding hot, then I know it's just right, because that will be added into here. If it's too hot, it will kill your yeast, okay? So that's the first thing. Then you need 1.5 cups of flour. You're only going to need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. You're only going to need 1/2 tablespoon of sugar. 3 teaspoons equals a tablespoon, so you could do 1.5 teaspoons or just 1/2 of this tablespoon. And then you're going to need 1 beaten egg that you're going to brush on top of the pretzel. Okay, that's what you're going to use to make it. All right, so first thing you do is you get a bowl and you take your warm water. Remember, I did 20 seconds in the microwave, and you put it in, and then you dump in your package of yeast, okay? And you could really smell this yeast. It sometimes smells yeasty. I don't know how to really explain it, but give it a smell. You'll say, oh, I've smelled that before. And this is what it looks like, okay? When the water's warm enough, it will dissolve, okay? And it will turn into like a milky liquid. I should probably use more of a spatula for this, but I'm going to actually use a brush that I have here, okay? I want you to see how it's turning into this like light brown liquid, because the yeast is dissolving, but it's not killing my yeast. It's still going to be active. There's like videos online if you want to look at what yeast looks like under a microscope. There's videos you could watch. It's amazing, okay? Because it's really live organism right there. All right, that's how you start it. Then you take 1.5 cups of flour. In my bag, I'm using all-purpose, unbleached, whole wheat flour, because this is a pretzel, but you can use any flour. I always have a measuring cup in my bag. There's 1 cup right there. I'm plopping it in. And then I'm just gonna take, this is Mrs. Gagliardi, the baker, another half. It does not have to be exact for me. You can use 1/2 cup if you want, or you can just fill it up halfway. Then you're going to want 1/2 teaspoon of salt, okay? So this is a whole teaspoon. I only want 1/2 teaspoon. So I'll open my salt container, and in goes the salt, all right? And then I'm going to want 1/2 tablespoon. Now I told you that 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon. So I could do 1.5 teaspoons, or I could just judge it. And you know me, I'm gonna judge it. That looks like half, good enough, all right? That sugar is gonna help that yeast. And really, that's all you need, all right? Now, Mrs. Gagliardi does not like dough under her fingernails, and I did wash my hands before I did my cooking, but I typically will put a plastic glove on when I'm working with dough. I don't like it to get on my hands. It's also another cleaner, more sanitary way to cook. And I want to show you what's happening. It's going to start to come together. It will feel warm to your hand, okay? And you're gonna look at this and you're gonna be like, oh no, it's too dry. I need to add more water. No, do not. You need to work with it for a little while, maybe 2 minutes. Just keep using your hand. You can have 2 gloves if you want 2 hands, okay? And you're just gonna keep working with it until it kind of all comes together, all right? Just keep pressing it. The more you press it, the more it will start to come together. And it's okay if at the end you feel like you have a really good dough that's not too sticky and there's still a little bit of flour in the bottom, you could just leave it, all right? The next thing I then do, let's just pretend that I really worked this really well, okay? You could always add a little tiny bit more water if you needed to, is I usually put it onto a, just the counter or onto a cutting board, and you're going to see I didn't like really work all the flour in because I'm just trying to speed it up for you on camera. But then you do something called kneading, okay? And that's where you pull your palm in, and then you pull a bit your palm in, and you really don't want it to be too dry. If for some reason, because it's the kind of flour you used, but remember, don't forget, keep working with it, because the more you work with it, the more it will start to come together. Don't over wet it. You could always put a tiny bit of water on your hand and then like pat it and then keep working with it if you want. But look, it's already coming together. Do you see how it is? And I keep doing it over. This is kneading the dough. The word knead is spelled K-N-E-A-D. It's one of those silent K words. Maybe you could look up other words that start with a K-N, like knife. That'd be a good activity for some of my kids. What other words, like knot, K-N-O-T, the kind of knot you might get in a shoelace. All right, look, it's coming together, right? Now I'm gonna take my glove off. I already made one just about an hour before you came into my kitchen. Sometimes I like to let it sit for just a little while, and really that's what it should look like. Okay, now, you turn your oven on to about 400 degrees. You preheat your oven while you're doing this, and you're going to now need to make a pretzel. All right, now, here's what you're going to do. This part, you need to just work with it. Try it, rip off a piece. You can make your pretzel as big or as small as you want. This was made out of 1 piece of dough. What you're going to do is you're going to roll. Notice this dough is not sticky, okay? But it's also not too dry, because if it's too dry, that won't work either. You might have to make it a couple times. It might not work the first time for you. That's what happens in the kitchen sometimes. Notice what I'm doing. I'm rolling it into a long piece. And when you do that, you roll and you kind of am pushing out at the same time. If you used to play with Play-Doh a lot when you were a kid, you might be really good at this. You know, you're just rolling it and you're trying to make it. The longer you make it, the better the holes will be, because you'll have more space when you cross it over. All right, here comes the tricky part. Everyone's always like, how do I get that shape? Okay, let me see if I can show you on my tray. And it doesn't matter what size your dough is. Let's see if I can do it toward you. All right, I've not done this backwards before. So you take your dough, your piece, right? And you go this way. This is hard for Mrs. Gagliardi to go backwards. See what I just did? It's like I crossed it like arms. See that? Now I want those 3 holes if I can have them. Sometimes when you bake them, they fall, the holes kind of close together. That's not really a big deal. But look what I'm doing now. Do you see what I just did? I want to make my holes so that they stay, because when I put it in the oven, that yeast is going to make it rise and puff up a little, and sometimes it closes the hole up, but you can still eat it. Sometimes it ends up, see how it closed the hole up? It like looked like this before I baked it, and then look what happened after I baked it, okay? All right, let's see if I can make an even longer, okay. You could do it. You could make a really big giant one like the ones they sell at the mall. What if I were to like roll this whole one out and then cross it? Then I would have a super giant pretzel that more than one person could eat. All right, so you're gonna do that. You just rip off a piece, however big or small you want it, and then you, again, roll it out, all the way out, and then you cross it over. You can get 6 average size ones out of one recipe, 5 or 6, or smaller if you make them smaller, or maybe just 1 or 2 giant pretzels, all right? Now, before you bake this, you're going to take 1 egg, okay? Crack your egg, might be a good thing for you to do, and you're just going to beat your egg, all right? You're gonna put in, it's called an egg wash. You're going to put an egg wash on your pretzel. You know why? Because most pretzels have sugar, cinnamon and sugar, or salt on them. The ones at the mall, I've seen them cinnamon and sugar pretzels, and I've seen salt pretzels, right? Now, I don't have that kosher, coarse salt. I wish I did, but I don't. I used to have it in my kitchen, but I ended up breaking something, and I had to throw it out. Okay, there's my egg. Now I'm just gonna paint my pretzel, okay? Just like that. I have a no-bake cooking sheet. If your sheet tends to make your cookies stick, you might wanna spray it with a little bit of Spam or something. All right, I don't have those really big salt crystals, the kosher salt. It doesn't matter, I'm going for the taste. I'm gonna take a little bit of this and I'm just gonna sprinkle it on over my pretzel. And because I did that egg wash, it's sticking. Okay, so I made a couple of them, a bigger one and a smaller one. I chose to go with the cinnamon and sugar on these. And now you go over to your oven, which has been preheated at 400 degrees. I'll turn my oven light on and I'm going to pop them in the oven. And then I would pop it in a 400-degree oven for about 8 to 10 minutes. I watch it. I don't like my pretzels to get super dark. Maybe you do. When it comes out of the oven, it is so delicious. It's warm and moist and chewy. And that's when you could take mustard and you could like dip it into mustard as you're eating it. Or you could take the cheese whiz that you have in a jar. Maybe you want to dip it into that. Oh, they look done. Yum, yum, yum. That's just the sugar burning on the tray because I happened to do these with cinnamon and sugar. Whereas the other ones were made with the salt. There they are. Oh, they're going to be hot, but I want to show you what it looks like after you break one off, okay? I'm really good with hot things. I'm used to it in the kitchen. All right, ready? Here we go. We're gonna break this one apart. Oh, look at that. Delicious. It's steaming a little bit. Now you could put butter on this. This one has the cinnamon and sugar. You could choose to eat the salty one dipped in mustard, any kind of mustard you want, or you could get more cinnamon and sugar on the dish. Yeah, let's do that. And now this is warm and I'm going to dip it in just like this. I could put butter on it too. Oh my goodness. This is gonna be so good. Are you ready? Here we go. Warm and chewy and sweet. Just like Walter the Baker made his. He made his a little salty though. Let me try it one more time, ready? So good. I think I like it better with that. Let me try it in the mustard. So this one had the salt on it. I'm gonna dip it in a little bit of mustard, a little bit of cheese sauce. Let me swallow, ready? That one's good too. And that one's not as hot. It's more room temperature. It's still very good. Well, until next time, I hope you try this recipe. Happy reading and happy cooking. Bye-bye.